Oh no, it's a Thursday. We know what that means. Thursdays and Fridays have been the roughest days all year long. You guys remember where you were 3 weeks ago? Today, it's Thursday, July 31st at 7 a.m. Do you remember where you were, Rex? You wouldn't even go out the door 3 weeks ago today. And neither would you, Steve, because it was raining so hard. That was our last flash flood here. We picked up, what was it? I think we ended up with 6 inches here at my house, and some people reported about 7 inches. And of course it was a Thursday, and of course it was a day or two after a heat wave, and of course there was a major boundary in the atmosphere, and of course it's not going to happen again this week, right? Nothing is guaranteed in life. It's 71 degrees. First of all, what happened at Logan Airport yesterday, we were sitting here watching the sailboat race over there where the wind was from the southeast, and we were over here and the wind was from the west, and we were 92 degrees in our yard, and Boston Logan Airport was 78 degrees. And yesterday I made a forecast that Logan would not hit 90 during the day yesterday. Well, it didn't. It hit 90 or 89.6 degrees at 9:50 p.m. last night. So just before 10 p.m. the wind shifted from the west and Boston warmed up to, they rounded it up to 90, went in the books yesterday for a high temperature. So it was a heat wave in Boston. Now I know it's just a technicality. Here are the high temperatures from the roundup last evening, and because this roundup comes out at 8:30, you see the 96 in Bedford and Fitchburg, but Boston was only at 87 so far for the day as of 8:30, where usually, although there's a lot of unusual in weather, usually by 8:30 you've had your high temperature for the day. But with these extreme events, with the cold and the warm, regardless, and wet and dry, things behave different than you may expect sometimes. And there's a lot of that happening right this minute, what you'd expect. Okay, let's look up and think about this for a second. I don't have on my lavalier, so if I zoom, I'm going to be sounding a little less loud. There's the sun, altocumulus. Now we're doing a full 360. Alligator sky, lots of waves. We've got a high pressure system, cold high, crashing into the heat wave, and it's breaking the heat, and there are flood watches in effect today. There's a towering cumulus right there developing, and the satellite imagery this morning. No, wait, regional roundup. I meant regional roundup, please. The dew point is still in the mid 70s over Long Island, the blue numbers, temperatures in the 70s. And the dew point is falling now through the 60s into the 50s in central and northern New England. So that's cooler and slightly drier air, but not dry enough to prevent rain. And so the front has reached the Massachusetts Turnpike this morning. The front is pressing south, so cooler air is coming in at most levels of the atmosphere, but right at the boundary with the hot, the cold just kind of undermines the heat and it stays warm up in the sky, and there you get your clash. You get your upward vertical velocity. And there's the radar this morning, and you can see the band of rain from New York to Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, well north of where any of the guidance had it, and a lot faster too. So this whole weather system has gotten fatter and faster. And you see those thunderstorms there in northern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania. Those are the seeds of the heaviest downpours that are going to happen today. But that whole general area of rain north is going to press south as the convection fires on the hot side of the front over New Jersey and New York. So there is a flood watch. In excessive rainfall potential has been posted from the Weather Prediction Center, as seen here in Jim Cantori's post on X this morning. And note the bullseye is closer to New Jersey, even though most of the precipitation is well to the north of that at this time. And the national advisories, watches, and warnings, extreme heat continues, but it's been pushed south now to southern Missouri to Mississippi. So the heat-breaking front has moved through the Chicago area, for example, where now there is a air quality alert stretching from Minnesota to Michigan for the smoke from the Canada fires, we'll probably have to deal with that after the rain. And the flood watch from the Chesapeake Bay area to Connecticut. And there's a sharp cutoff with the flood watch not in effect in Rhode Island and Massachusetts and central New York. Well, you can consider yourself also in a flood watch, because the rain's going to be just about as heavy just outside that flood watch area as it is inside the flood watch area. We call it the lean cold rule a lot of times in the winter time. Especially we talk about it because I'm much more into forecasting snow than rain, but you got to practice in the summertime to be in shape for the wintertime. And the lean cold rule means that as the cold air comes in and you have a lot of moisture in the atmosphere and your low pressure system passes well south of Long Island, oftentimes you get your heaviest precipitation well to the north of the low pressure center, because cold air holds less water vapor, so it wrings out more readily. And that appears to be happening this morning. Do you concur, Steve? Yes, I think he concurs. Oh, there's a little baby bird. Yeah. No, Steve, no. We'll just sit here and chill. Here's the Boston meteogram for today. For the next 7 days. From the Euro, by the way, congratulations, Euro has been the only model consistently forecasting this event now for more than 8 days. This is now one of those days you look forward to, and your 10-day forecast becomes day 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and today is now day 1, and it's sped up, and the rain is heaviest now tonight. This afternoon, tonight, and it's just about done tomorrow morning. So instead of being an all wet day tomorrow with temperatures only in the 60s, the sun's going to come out in Boston and we're going to go back up into the 70s. And then it still looks like a beautiful weekend, maybe a sea breeze front. It's going to get quite windy from the northeast tonight, and then maybe a sea breeze front tomorrow afternoon could trigger some clouds. I'm sorry, getting kind of distracted with birds and cats and such. And Sunday looks great, and Monday there's a little bit of a front coming at us on Monday. It looks like we're going to try to get back up into the 80s, and then another front's going to come in and sort of backdoor front without much fanfare. Hopefully on Tuesday it cools off, dew point goes back down, kind of up and down, and then guess what, another Thursday, Friday. This is back in the game plan for next Thursday and Friday, where yesterday it didn't really show up, and so we'll have to look at that in the big picture in a few minutes. But now let's go to the small picture, which is just the regional forecast, and we're going to use the NAM. All the guidance is pretty close together on when the rain's coming in. A lot faster now. There's the rain coming in from the north and from the west and almost from the south. By 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, it's raining in Boston, and you got heavy downpours. And now towards Connecticut, I got to admit the convection should be stronger, but you may have torrential rains happening even in the cooler sector north of I-90. So we're all vulnerable, I'd say, from about Rutland, Vermont to Concord, New Hampshire, and points south for inches of rain. And then that tapers off. Tomorrow, Cape Cod is still wet in the morning. The wind overnight from the northeast along the south coast and Cape Cod will be about 20 to 30 miles an hour, but it's moving faster than we thought. So no Friday nor'easter in the forecast anymore, except for maybe on Nantucket, where the rain is done by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then it's just the cool air advection. And I call it cool because it's the middle of summertime. It's not really cold. Cold enough, though, that there may be some record low temperatures on Saturday morning. There's Saturday morning. You have the 558 thickness over us and a 1024 high, red line, black line, 1024 high over New York. That's sinking air. That's a convergence aloft. That's just beautiful. And 78 means, that 558 means that we can add 20 and get to 78 degrees inland on Saturday. Well, it's a little cooler at the coaches, but cooler at the coaches? Tim, you're sitting on a couch. What are you thinking? I'm talking too fast. Cooler at the beaches. Coolers at the beach on Saturday. Should be fine. Sunburn factor pretty close to a 10 out of 10. It looks like a great weekend. And the QPF. How much rain is forecast? This is really a moving target. I think we are all vulnerable to 2 to 4 inches, and to say exactly where it's going to be is impossible, but the NAM guidance shows the heaviest precipitation from just near New York City to actually near your house in Princeton, Massachusetts, Linda. There's a little yellow dot that has formed there north of Wachusett and also near New York City, and the yellow dot would indicate potential 4 inches of rain. And we never going to nail exactly where the yellow dot, 4 inches of rain, is actually going to occur, but the potential is there for all of us, and it's just amazing that the Euro has been talking about this for so long. And even though the last 2 days it kind of had it coming in more tomorrow morning than tonight, the Euro originally, back 8 days ago, said it was going to happen on a Thursday night. And what a tremendous job by that global guidance. So without much more fanfare, let's go to the Euro and see what it does over the next 10 days, or at least 9 days. There's our low, and it's traveling well south of Long Island. It's a gusty night tonight. You have a rain, back edge of the rain moving off Cape Cod tomorrow morning, and then that's that big, strong, high-pressure system coming out of the Great Lakes, and it's a powerhouse high, and at the southern end of that high, you have to watch. The front's going to go all the way down to South Carolina and Florida again, where it's all been so hot in Florida. Rain is going to probably develop with that. And, oh, wait a second, time out. All right, now, I just look at this jet taking off toward the east again, despite air like from the southwest right now. But look at the opposite of a chemtrail. There's an opposite of a chemtrail. Instead of forming a cloud, it formed a clear spot in the clouds. I don't know. Anti-chemtrail. I just can't stop looking up. All right, where were we? The Euro and the high pressure system. Now we'll pick it up Sunday, and this is different. The Tuesday front now looks like it wants to come in on Sunday. You see that line of shower activity coming across Ontario and Quebec, backing southwestward toward New England. That's a backdoor cold front for northern Maine on Sunday night and Monday. And now you have a front that's kind of disappeared. You can't even really make it out over New England on another high pressure system building in southeastern Canada, more cool reinforcing air. That would be heat prevention method. But each afternoon on Tuesday, and then there's Wednesday, you have these diurnal thunderstorms each afternoon. And then we watch the southern end of that high. This is now the second high next week, and there is moisture coming up the east coast, and I'm not saying it's going to be a tropical cyclone, but it looks like next Thursday night, almost the same exact thing that's supposed to happen tonight, except for this one is more of a coast hugger, and it tries to intensify and go into the Gulf of Maine as another Friday nor'easter. Not saying we're going to have one tomorrow, but that would be next Friday, and that is amazing. And there's an upper level low forming there, and it looks like it's going to be slow to depart now. We're getting into Saturday next weekend, second weekend of August. We have an upper level low. It's not that strong, 564, 570, but the fact it's in the middle of summer, that's going to be very unstable. And we have a couple of surface low pressure systems, one east of New England, one west of New England. And is there a tropical storm in the Gulf of Mexico from the Euro, like it said a couple days ago? If you go south, no, there are not any tropical storms in the Gulf of Mexico, America, whatever it is. But there are bands of tropical energy there in the Bahamas and Florida. So the energy will be bundling, and eventually we're going to get something off of Africa. Oh, yeah. And speaking of off of Africa, and Jim Cantori posts, he said, look at the SAL layer coming across the Atlantic Ocean. Even that potent wave in the middle of the Atlantic can't beat the SAL. That's Saharan air layer. Saharan air layer. That is inhibiting development of waves coming off of Africa. It's just very dry and dusty and hot air. And it quells the hurricane potential in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean for now. But it doesn't take a tropical cyclone to get you the flooding rains. And that happens in situations like this. A lot of times you get the tropical energy streaming north and running into cold, high pressure, and that produces flooding. And that's what's going to happen today. And I think, like I said, anywhere in central and southern New England is vulnerable to flooding. It's going to be kind of called the play-by-play kind of day. And I guess that's it for the weather. Still trying to protect my tomatoes. Did a little more work on my tomatoes to try and keep them from being eaten by the critters. And lots of critters in the peony over there, and we cleaned up the yard a little bit more burning yesterday, and I'm looking forward to some red tomatoes, but today's weather's not going to help red the tomatoes. Do we have any pink ones yet? Nope. But I love these guys because I started them from seed, and I'm trying to be able to post them, but I've had to clean them out so much. This one now, look at, they get tangled. You got to be careful. But this guy is taller than me if I were to stretch it out. And that's my goal, is to get these staked up and taken care of, but probably not in the flooding rain. See, this is like a sucker right there. You can break those off, whatever. All right, play-by-play. You get so much from yesterday. I did 2 time lapses by request. I did 1 time lapse of the Weymouth Big Dig, and then I did a time lapse of trying to catch the sailboat race, but We couldn't figure out what the weather was going to do. It was southeasterly wind in Hull, and it was a southwesterly wind in Quincy, and so the race was delayed. So I moved my camera from watching the sailboats to watching the sun set. So a lot of editing. By the time I'm done editing, you're probably already getting poured on and more from yesterday. I love your work, you guys. Doing good work. More concrete is imminent. 9 and more, still 76 degrees. The reason I'm coming out so early, I haven't even finished editing yesterday's, is because I see some action down here. We get some morning. These guys are trying to staple down the coconut mesh, so instead of the grass pushing it up, the grass will grow through it. And we've got the first load of gravel coming onto this side of the concourse, the inland side of the concourse, as they're going to get ready to do some boulders on this side of the concourse and make the slope less steep. That is the goal of all this. And because I'm still editing, I don't think I have time for a time lapse right now. But I've heard your requests. Get to it. Okay, it is pretty dynamic down here today. I missed something there. They put down some more gravel, and it looks like it's covered underneath that probably permeable black mat. So they're going to put some drainage. Now they're putting down some, it looks like almost loam or dirt that I think boulders are going to go on top, but it almost looks like they might be trying to grow something here. So I think this might be worthy of a time lapse. So let's put the camera in the tripod here and see what we can get. All right, I would like to see both the excavator and the sailboats. We've got the kids out there sailing too. And every once in a while a monarch butterfly goes by. And so Adam is just on top of the catch basin there. So I don't know what he's working in there, but that's a drainage conduit for the water coming off a great hill. I know he looks really small there because I'm kind of wide. I just want to zoom in there for a second because this is the last we're going to see of that catch basin. Boats and sky and Weymouth. Big dig, Gulf of Weymouth. July 30th, 2025. It's about 1:15. Been running this thing now for close to 80 minutes. What did I miss? Covering up the black cover with dirt. Not sure how high it's going to end up coming. I think boulders are going to go on top of that. You just kind of flatten it out, I guess. What's next? Next is some indoor work. Gull. Over the sediment, looking for something alive. Coming our way. Thanks. And there's a T-Rex around here somewhere. I've seen the monarch again. Just can't get to see him on camera. Rex the sun dog. Oh, there's the monarch. Funny. Ask and you shall receive. Well, he just flew by. Funny. Did you see that, Rex? Lovebird. Cardinal. Did you see the cardinal? Just flew in. Cardinal should be arriving at this bird feeder. 5, 4, 3, 2. Come on, it would look so good in the sun. Please? You can do it. Yes. Where'd he go? I'm talking too loud. There he is. If you build it, they will come. Good morning, Cardinal. Your boy, Cardinal. Love Boyd. And our family of eider. Gonna go get some breakfast from Pia and Leif. The birds are not pleased right now. I'm wondering what they're squawking about. The cardinal just had to vacate because, Chipmunk, how'd you do that? Those wanting eyes. Sorry, Steve. You're not coming out in the midday sun. We'll get you later. Dragonfly. Some kind of squawking bird. Thank you, Mother Nature, for the air conditioning breeze off the ocean today. It's almost sail time. I see a couple boats out there. Breeze is not southeast like TK said it would be. It's more east-northeast, but there's still some time. Make way for Stolt tanker. How big is the propeller on that rig? I think those ones have jet thrusts. I'm not sure. Birds, clouds. So this was the time that maybe we'd see some showers or thunderstorms popping up, and so far just some cumulus. The air is plenty ripe, ready to bubble up. Keep you informed. I have another idea on where we might find a monarch. They seem to like flowers that are the same color as them, and no one has better yellowish flowers than Julie's sunflowers. Okay, there was a little change of plan. We didn't go over to the sunflowers. We're just now in the backyard admiring the wind shifts, listening to Live at 5 Offspring in New England tonight. Can't lift them, but all of a sudden it just picked up from the west, so there's a chance that Logan Airport is getting to 90 degrees. And Doug's like, what did you expect? Of course it's gonna go west at this time of day. Of course it is. You know it all. Well, I guess he does know a lot, doesn't he? Well, the planes still think it's from the east. We got two coming in at the same time. How are they gonna land at the same time?
4 left, 4 right.
Yeah. Adjacent runways. And still no sign of the towering cumulus, but we get some chunky cumulus up there towards Marblehead. 5:12 p.m. and we're just trying to watch and figure the wind, and so are the sailors. So interesting. See these boats pointed toward the west, and then you get that sailboat out there kind of right in the middle, and then these boats on the outer are pointed toward the east still. So we get a southeast wind against the west wind. This is so fun. But I'm rooting for the southeast wind to hold on at Logan, because I said it wouldn't hit 90 today, but it feels like right here in our yard we just jumped to 90. Doesn't it feel like it just happened?
And we get the wind from the warm land.
Talk loud because the stones are singing. It says 92, but the sun is hitting it. What's it at Logan? It's not too hot for Steve to sit on Steve's table. Doug says, look over there at that sailboat. Not that one. I'm looking at that yacht. Look at that sailboat. It's in the doldrums. The west wind on his west side and the east wind on his east side. Play by play. More and more and more. What's that?
In the old days, smokestacks were putting out their effluent, but it also showed you the direction of the wind.
All right.
So right now, all the stacks there, anything would be going this way. And if there were stacks over in Hull, well, they'd be going that way.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because there was a fire burning this morning up there somewhere, and maybe it was the burning facility where they trained, and the smoke was going toward the west, and then it went up and it went toward the east.
Yeah.
Yep. It's an interesting looking vessel and or situation, making it look easy. More and more and more and more. Wow, he looks kind of proficient at rowing that thing. And our daily swimmer doing his daily swim back toward the west. Lots of marine traffic. Joe Perry.
So you're telling me there's a chance? I would say at some point something's going to happen, but we'll see.
Awesome. Well, we, the fans, the members of the Blue Army will be very thankful when and if that day comes, Joe. I shamelessly self-promoted it on my social media accounts as well, at Kenny Young ZLX. All right, back to the music
Kenny,
here, my
talking
friends.
about
Back
the
to
possibility of a little more action from Aerosmith. We get the flybys, we get the swim-bys. So much going on. They keep planning to be just outside the sediment. Comes by every single day. All right, the rest of the story, our swimmer and the person on that other craft who were just talking down by the jetty, he rowed over and got his sail and put his sail on there, and now he's off in the westerly breeze in 90-degree air. Meantime, the Twilight Series boats are starting to show up over there in the southeasterly air. Have we mentioned that too many times so far today? Well, we're not done because there's going to be more and more and more. And I just had the brilliant idea of looking at the radar to see if there were any storms, but there are no storms, but you can see the sea breeze front meeting just to the east of where we are, oriented north-south from Quincy down to about Brockton, then oriented toward the southeast with the southwest wind over Buzzards Bay likely, and the southeast wind there in Plymouth County. Just amazing. Weather is fascinating, and you can never take your eye off the ball for even 1 second. And Doug is saying that, well, that sea breeze is going to continue to decay and the southwest is going to take over for the race. Is that what you're declaring? Or the west?
Well, I'm looking at it. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, it'll swing around. The warm breeze will prevail.
So Boston still may go up to close to 90, even as the sun's going down. Well, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm just thinking out loud and hoping it doesn't, because I forecast that it wouldn't. 6:15, camera on tripod. We're going to try and watch. That excavator is not going to move, but the sailboats should start moving here. Well, and it's been a really fun witnessing the difference between the wind from the west over here and the wind from the southeast for the Twilight Series sailboat race. So that's 9 times zoom. That's the best I can do. Let's see if we can't see the beginning of the race. Tuck to the hand. Scram! They just covered all the birds. Now they're landing again. Your face. Try again. I just did a little research on the air in Boston at Logan Airport. Most of the day was pretty close to 80, and then even with an east-southeast wind, at about 3 o'clock it jumped up to 88 degrees, and since then went back down to 78 degrees, and then back up to 81 degrees. All right, I have to admit, I don't think the sailboat race has begun yet, and everyone's been just kind of jockeying for position with the start committee trying to figure out which way the wind was going to blow and send you off into the wind, which I think just came around from the southeast where I'm sitting. Here at about 7 o'clock. Get the show on the road. And a little bit of an update on what's going on in the yard here. Steve is walking the edge, checking out all the critters down there. And remember when I said, what kind of ducks are those? Those baby ducks when they were like 2 inches big. Back in May. Someone said those are eider. I said, wow, it's interesting. There's like 3 or 4 babies and 2 parents and 1 uncle or nanny. And it looks like the eider spend at least the first summer together, opposed to the osprey last week, which the parents left the kids already. All right. Hope you're all having a fun sailboat race. I'm gonna call it a day at some point here. So I'm just gonna set the camera down, facing this way now. And we're gonna play it out with a time lapse, within a time lapse, within a time lapse of the day in Weymouth and the day on Cape Cod. And it's just music and time lapse from here on in. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. You got it, Jet? You got it, Doug? Didn't get the answer to the question?